So, I'm here to very quickly, within about 10 minutes, tell you about the report on the best place in the Commonwealth to be brought up as a girl, but also to give you some information to help us all lobby the CHOGM, the Heads of Government meeting in October, to actually invest in our 500 million girls in the Commonwealth to ensure they all get, as the Professor said, 10 years quality education, including secondary education. So, for Commonwealth countries, to raise, for every 1% of girls that you have in secondary school, you raise your country's GDP on average by 0.3%. So it's clearly the smart thing to do. What are the assets that a girl needs, that you had, that your grandmother needed to make a success of life? To take one example, Plan is following a cohort of girls across the developing world, and one of them is called Gloria. And she's now rising 5, and she's one of those very busy little girls, and runs around after mum and wakes everybody up in the house, whether they want to be working or not, first thing. And she already has 3 assets. Her birth was registered, so she officially exists, and therefore her education and provision can be planned. Secondly, she was vaccinated. And thirdly, her grandfather has already said he's going to leave her a piece of land. So she's already not one of the 1 in 17 children in Uganda who died before the age of 5. And her parents, they have 8 other children, and they live in Tororo in Uganda, and they're not at all well off. They're quite poor. But they have managed to pay £1 a month so she goes to kindergarten. So she is learning to be school ready. She's developing assets already. And the figures say that if all the girls in Uganda went to kindergarten and they got good food and they were school ready and less likely to drop out, then over 25 years that economy would save $31 billion. And we hope, and Gloria's parents hope, that she'll be going to primary school next year. And if she goes to primary school, for every year of primary school she completes, she's going to earn 10 to 20% more. And of course, as a girl, she's going to plough more of that back into her family than her brothers will. And if she completes 5 years of primary school, then what will happen is her children will have a 40% greater chance of surviving beyond the age of 5. So sending her to primary school is a real smart investment. But there's 700,000 girls in Uganda who never get to primary school, never have that chance. And if you calculate their lost earnings to the economy, that's $828 million a year. And because Gloria's parents are poor, it's in the balance as to whether she could go to secondary school. But if she does go to secondary school, and if she's mentored and stays there, perhaps with some of Camp Ed's mentors, then she really will hit the jackpot. Because she will learn not just how to read, how to write, but she'll hopefully learn financial skills, she'll learn about sexual and reproductive health. If she has a quality education, she'll get all those skills that you were talking about, Rod, that she needs to be successful. She'll be much less likely to suffer from sexually transmitted infections, or will she not get to go to secondary school? And if she doesn't, she's 4 times more likely as a secondary school girl to suffer from HIV. So you can see the very particular assets we give our girls are really important. And that's why in this report, which is based upon the planned series of girls which come out every year called Because I'm a Girl, this report specifically on girls in the Commonwealth took this life cycle approach. So we looked at the 54 countries of the Commonwealth and said which of them are doing right by girls, and which is the best country in the Commonwealth to be brought up as a girl. In general, the results were very unexpected. What we found is it's not historical wealth, but it's present political leadership which makes a difference in where's the best place to grow up as a girl. So the second and third of our countries are Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. And they were way ahead of countries that were wealthier than them. And 5 of the 6 poorest countries in the Commonwealth did better than richer countries. And if you're a girl and you have political ambitions, you're much better off in Rwanda than you are here in the UK. So, in terms of education, what did we find? Well, education has a multiplier effect. So the more years you have in education, as I think Rebecca from the Girl Guides mentioned, the less likely you are to get pregnant, to drop out of school. So we looked both at the years in education and also at quality of education, literacy. And in terms of years, Australia was doing best. 16 years girls were in education, slightly less than boys, but not too far apart. Pakistan and Nigeria were at the back with between 6 and 7 years, but also in those countries, girls are 1/5 less likely to be educated than boys. But there's some very interesting trends as well. In some of the countries where education wasn't that long, for example Bangladesh, where it's between 7 and 8 years, they've made massive strides in terms of parity between boys and girls, through all sorts of things like girls' scholarships, social protection schemes, all those tools. And overall, you could see that the trend was moving forward, except for those countries which, and people are right to mention the GMC report, which have been affected by conflict. But then you look at, well as the years, what's the quality? What's happened about literacy? And then you find that in Sierra Leone, even though girls are getting, on average, 10 years education, boys get 13, the literacy rates are very low. So there's a lot in those discussions from BSO about teachers and quality of education. In India, girls still get 10 years, but literacy is 82%. Girls do less well than boys, but their literacy is still higher. And in Sri Lanka, which has 12 years education, high literacy rates, girls are outdoing boys. So in that 10 years, which a girl needs to collect the assets that she needs in order to be a success of life, the 10 years that Gloria is going to need, we have a chance this October, when the heads of government are together, to really push for that investment. And it's a historic time, because as we know, I think Rebecca from the Girl Guides talked about the Millennium Development Goals. They're in the process of review between now and 2015. 2012 is probably going to be the crux year. So now is the year to advocate to Commonwealth governments that they invest in 10 years quality girls' education. And I'd ask you now to think about how you could give that chance that you have to a girl, to all our girls in the Commonwealth. And by so doing, you change their lives, their children's lives, and their children's children's lives for generations to come.